My Lords. My Lords, private notice question on the treatment of protesters in Iran. Baroness Kennedy of the Shores.
I beg leave to ask the question of which I've given private notice, and I should declare that I am the director of the International Bar Association's Human Rights Institute, which has been monitoring human rights abuses in Iran for many years. A grave human rights crisis is unfolding in Iran. As many of my lords will know, there has been a nationwide uprising taking place in 111 cities across Iran. This is not confined to Tehran and the students of Tehran or the young women of Tehran. This is across all classes and all the peoples of Iran. And the regime is using live ammunition against unarmed citizens. There are mass arrests and there is a total internet and telecommunications blackout. Bodies are piling up in morgues, but families cannot locate their loved ones. Hospitals are overwhelmed, and even Starlink connectivity is reported to be jammed. And so the question I ask of this government is what assessment they have made of the treatment of protesters in Iran, what they feel that the British government can be doing, and how they are engaging with the government of the United States on proposed responses to ensure that these are in accordance with international law. The people of Iran want democracy. They do not want outside entities to bring about regime change.
I'm grateful to my noble friend for her question, and I commend her for her many years of work and dedication to this issue and to the people of Iran. My Lords, we are also deeply concerned about the use of violence against protesters and strongly condemn the killing of protesters. Iranians must be able to exercise their right to peaceful protest without fear or reprisal, and we urge Iran to immediately restore access to the internet and communications. With regards to engagement with the United States, their policy towards Iran, obviously, it's a matter for the US government. The UK remains absolutely committed to international law and expects other countries to do the same. And this is essential for global security and stability.
My Lords, I thank the noble Baroness for her question. And I'm sure that we're all watching the news reports with interest. Personally, I find it deeply humbling to watch the astonishing bravery of hundreds of thousands of ordinary Iranians facing the guns and murderous tactics of that brutal regime. And of course, if they're arrested, they also now face execution. It's quite astonishing to watch their desire for freedom and democracy. Can I ask the noble lady two questions, please? Firstly, what is being done to challenge the Iranian regime over the violence it's conducting? I know we have diplomats in Tehran. What role are they playing? What reports is the noble lady receiving back from them? Why has the Foreign Secretary not yet summoned the Iranian ambassador to protest at the brutality? And secondly, given the statements from President Trump, what discussions have taken place with the US administration over their plans and their challenge to this brutal regime?
Well, the UK is clear in its condemnation of the brutality of the regime towards protesters, and we fundamentally support, for many different reasons, the right of those who are taking to the streets bravely, showing enormous courage to go and make their case in the way that they wish to. Communication with the Iranian regime will be something that my friend, the Foreign Secretary, will be actively considering.
The murder of those people in Iran who simply wish to have a say in who governs them is utterly contemptible. There are early signs that these protests will become more widespread, but there are not early signs that there will be mass rebellions in the Iranian military. So is it now not the time that we should be proscribing as a terrorist organisation all of those bodies within Iran that are actively suppressing their own population, but they're also putting UK national interests at risk? And secondly, I've read that our ambassador has been summoned to the Iranian ministers to view, in a perverse way, the protests. Should we not be summoning the Iranian ambassador to ensure that there is no repression of Iranian nationals or any British interest here in the United Kingdom, and that we are willing now to expand rapidly the human rights sanctions regime for all aspects of the Iranian government that are carrying out these repressive actions.
Well, firstly, on the issue of our ambassador in Tehran, it's not correct that they were summoned. They did have a conversation when they were attending the MFA as for another purpose, but that is a very different situation to the one that I think has probably been reported that the Noble Lord will have read. On the prescription, clearly we don't comment about these things ahead of time and we keep these things under close review, but just to point Noble Lords to the work that was done by Jonathan Hall and the suggestions that he made about prescription-like measures, and the government does intend to do these in due course.
Has the Noble Baroness, the Minister, seen the report today about the killing of 23-year-old Rubina Aminian, a young woman who was shot at close range at the back of her head, one of thousands of pro-democracy protesters who's lost their lives already, joining the 1,922 who were executed by the regime last year alone, joining Mahsa Amini, the young woman who died after discarding her hijab. It isn't unreasonable to ask, as the Noble Lord or Purvis did, whether we will take further action about the prescription of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. But can I also ask the Noble Baroness what we can do to try and restore communications in any way in Iran so that people can know what is going on? And what advice are we giving to British nationals and dual citizens who are actually in Iran at the present time?
One of the issues that we face is our inability at the moment to get verifiable information out of Iran because they have placed restrictions, well, closed the internet. So that makes that very, very difficult. But he's absolutely right to remind us of some of the horrors that we do know about already. And I think as more information emerges, then we will want to respond to that. I've said what I've said about prescription and the IRGC. But on the issue of British nationals, we are concerned, and we have clear travel advice not to travel to Iran. But there will be British nationals there at the moment, and we know, sadly, of some who are being held wrongly and have even been charged. The former has been charged with espionage now as well, which is clearly wrong, and they should be released immediately.
My Lords, following on from that following question, we have a number of Iranians in our churches in the Diocese of Gloucester who are desperately trying to make contact with loved ones. What update can the Noble Lady, the Minister, give the House about the support being given to Iranians in this country who are endeavouring to contact family and friends in Iran?
That must be an incredibly difficult situation to be in because communications are limited at best or non-existent, and the support that our team in Tehran is able to provide is incredibly limited. So I can only imagine the concern and the worry and the heartache that's being felt by those with people that they love and care for in Iran at this time.
Lords, the Noble Lady, Lady Kennedy, has stated that the Iranians, this side, the Noble Lady, Lady Kennedy, has stated that the Iranians do not want to see outside interference to achieve regime change. But can she tell us that without outside interference, how is the regime going to be changed?
Well, we are mindful of the way that we express our views because of the reasons that I think are implied by the Noble Lord's question, because the regime in Iran does attempt to portray those who are of their own free will taking to the streets to protest. They try to suggest that that is somehow foreign interference or meddling by external powers. It is clearly not. These are people who feel so strongly and at great risk, and sometimes at cost to their lives, are taking to the streets to call for the freedom that we so wish that they could enjoy.
As someone who served in the Her Majesty's Embassy in Tehran many years ago, could I just express my anguish at what we are seeing being meted out to citizens of Iran who are simply using their rights to demonstrate. Does the Noble Lady, the Minister, not think that one message that could be sent out is that should they have a government which is prepared to come into full conformity with all the international rules that have been put forward in recent years with regard to their nuclear program and other aspects of their policy, we would respond positively. But we will not respond positively while what is going on before our eyes is as horrifying as it is.
Well, we do, as he suggests we should, stand proudly for freedom and human rights for the people of Iran. And the snapback measures that he refers to, they took place really as a last resort, and it would be a very good thing for the people of Iran and for regional and global stability if we were able to have a more productive, positive relationship with the government in Iran that represents the wishes of its people.
And our thanks to the security services for...
Bench next.
I agree with all those who have condemned the killing of innocent protesters in Iran. But, my Lord, will the Minister agree with me that Iranian nation is a very resilient nation? What we have seen, Iranian public know how to change their governments. We saw the end of the King of Iran's time when the protesters were on the roads in their tens of thousands, and at the end they forced the king to leave the country. And, okay, we liked it or not, but there was a change of government. And similarly, now when the people of Iran think they've got enough of this regime and they want to change, they're capable of changing the government of their own, and they do not need external invasion or a change of regime plans to be practiced in their country.
I think the Noble Lord speaks for his own perspective on the people of Iran and their capability of changing the regime in their country. All I would say is that I think much has changed in the decades since the events which he alludes to. And I do hope that the people of Iran are able to bring about, for their own voice and their own protests and the things that they are able to do themselves, to bring about a government that represents them so that they are able to live in freedom and to live their lives in a way that we are all able to do. I hope that they are able to bring about that situation sooner rather than later.
Security services owe our respect and thanks for thwarting something like over 20 assassination attempts on British soil against Iranians. This situation is not going to die down. Both sides are going to become, I suspect, more entrenched. And if the regime is trying to hold on, it's likely to become more violent towards those who are opposing it. With that in mind, what can the Noble Lady, the Minister, say to reassure those brave Iranians living in the United Kingdom that everything will be done to protect them from agents of a foreign power who may seek to carry out atrocities against them on British soil?
Well, this is such an important point, and as he reminds us, our security services have done amazing things in preventing so many attempts at attacks on this country. We won't stand for it, and we will take whatever measures are necessary to keep everybody in this country safe, but as he's talking about, particularly those who fall to the attention of the Iranian regime. We will continue to do that. Our security services are alive to the increased threat that they face at the present time, and they will continue.
My Lords, when I was First Sea Lord, I tended to send warships towards the sound of the guns. And if things go wrong in Iran, which it looks as though they might well do, then the whole of that region will be in great difficulty and trouble. We currently have one mine hunter in Bahrain, that is all. Is there any intention to actually beef up our military presence there, bearing in mind the huge threat to the waterways should things go up in the air?
I'm grateful to the Noble Lord for his question, but as I do make a very clear point of never responding to this kind of hypothetical question, I'm not going to break that today, but I do note what he says, particularly about the importance of Iran in terms of security in that particular part of the world.
We saw the very appalling pictures of the security guards displaying the bodies, thanks to the work of very brave Iranians getting the message out before all of this social media was blocked down. But does she agree with me that social media has shown its importance in the first 2 weeks of these protests? And would she congratulate Elon Musk in now being able to get Starlink into Iran so that some opportunity will be given for Iranians to get their message out?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think she's right about this because we've been unable to gain access for journalists. Citizen journalism has become all that we have, and actually the reports that have been able to be shared have been vital in alerting the world to what is going on. And I think that can be said for very many of these sort of precarious locations and places where it's difficult to gain access. The extent to which I'm prepared to stand here and thank Elon Musk for anything, I think is a different question. But I do agree with her about the vital role that social media has played.
My Lord, going back to the original question, it's difficult to get President Trump's support for international law when he's on record for saying that he does not agree with international law. Will the noble Baroness, the Minister, try to ensure that no attempt is made to install the son of the disgraced ruler of Iran, whose behaviour led to the influx of the present regime, and instead give its support to the International Committee for Resistance, led by Madame Rajavi, with her 10-point plan for democratic rule, free from religious interference, and with equal rights for women. Very important when we remember that one of the present rulers regime in the regime now said that women have smaller brains than men.
Okay. I mean, that's the noble Lord's view of what should happen next in Iran. The UK government's view is that the future of Iran and its leadership should be firmly in the hands of the people of Iran.
The time is up for this question. This may be an appropriate moment for lords who wish to do so to leave the chamber.